Seattle, Alaska. 1282, we just depressurized. We're declaring emergency.
We are very, very fortunate here that this didn't end up in something more tragic.
Disaster averted. Tonight, the missing door from an airplane ripped off mid-flight, now in the hands of investigators. I'm Ellison Barber in for Gadi Schwartz, coming to you tonight from London. And this is Stay Tuned Now. Breaking news tonight surrounding that mid-flight scare over the weekend. United Airlines says its inspectors found loose bolts on multiple door plugs of grounded Boeing 737 Max 9s. That is the same kind of door plug that ripped off the Alaska Airlines plane as it was taking off from Portland, Oregon over the weekend. Incredibly, no one was hurt in that incident, but as a result, every 737 Max 9 has to be inspected before they can go back up in the air. Meanwhile, the plug that ripped off was eventually recovered from a teacher's backyard in Oregon. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board is analyzing the evidence to try and figure out what went wrong. NBC's Tom Costello leads us off.
Breaking tonight, United Airlines reports it has found loose bolts in some of its 737 MAX 9 door plugs as both United and Alaska Airlines conduct FAA-ordered inspections on all MAX 9s in the U.S. Earlier today, the NTSB recovered the missing 63-pound door plug that blew out of the side of that Alaska Airlines MAX 9 Friday night, landing in a teacher's backyard. The plug will undergo a close inspection at the NTSB lab in Washington as investigators look at how and why the plane suffered a decompression explosion at 16,000 feet.
Alaska, 1282, we just depressurized. We're declaring emergency. We needed to come down to 10,000.
While no one was seated in the nearest seats, those seats were left twisted and bent. The headrests and cushions sucked out of the plane, along with clothing and cell phones. Nicholas Hoke was on board the plane.
I was starting to text my girlfriend, my mom, my other loved ones, and didn't know if I was going to make it on the other side. It was a lot of intense emotions, for sure.
The door plug that failed is held in place by bolts and pins used to seal an extra emergency exit if airlines don't need it. The NTSB says on 3 previous flights, pressurization warning lights lit up in the same plane. Yet Alaska only restricted the plane from flying over water to Hawaii until technicians could evaluate the problem.
It's early, but should Alaska have grounded the plane back then?
Certainly, it's been a warning sign to them, just on safety overall. But I think, in this case, what Alaska will say is that they took measures to ensure safety. We have to see whether those actions were responsive or not enough.
The plane's fuselage is made for Boeing by Wichita-based Spirit Aerosystems. Today, Spirit said our primary focus is the quality and product integrity of the aircraft structures we deliver. Boeing today issued inspection guidelines for every airline that flies the MAX 9. As the FAA reiterated, the MAX 9s will remain grounded until airlines complete enhanced inspections, which include both left and right cabin door exit plugs. That takes 4 to 8 hours each. Corrective actions must be completed before any plane returns to service. Meanwhile, Boeing's CEO has called a company-wide Tuesday meeting to focus on safety. This MAX 9 emergency comes after 2 fatal MAX 8 crashes that grounded the plane, loose bolts on the MAX rudder system, production and quality control delays with the MAX 8, the 787, military planes, and Boeing's space program.
Even an incident like this that doesn't involve any injuries or fatalities does serve to undermine, to some degree, the confidence in Boeing's ability to manufacture a safe aircraft.
United and Alaska canceled more than 300 flights again today. They'll likely cancel more tomorrow, and there's a problem with the black boxes that were recovered. The cockpit voice recorder is on a 2-hour loop before it's erased and recorded over, so investigators can't listen to crew conversations, computer warnings, the air rushing through the cabin. It's a big reason why investigators want 25-hour recordings, not 2 hours. Ellison, back to you.
Tom Costello, thank you. Turning now to a major winter storm that's threatening to bring ferocious blizzard conditions across much of the country. That storm is currently working its way through the middle of the nation. 40 states are under threat of heavy snow, strong winds, or flooding conditions into tomorrow. Drivers are being urged to stay home as the National Weather Service issues severe weather alerts for both coast, parts of the South, and the Midwest. The Central and Southern Plains preparing to see up to 2 inches of snow per hour. The storm prompting school closures and delays at a host of airports. Viewer video shot this afternoon at the regional airport in Garden City, Kansas, shows near zero visibility and winds whipping over 70 miles per hour. It follows a weekend of wild weather. Out east, over a foot of snow fell in Massachusetts, knocking out power to more than 13,000 homes. And in Los Angeles on Sunday, a girl was hospitalized after being pinned by a massive tree that toppled over as fierce winds ripped through a flea market. As local officials prepare for yet another round of slippery roads and flash flooding, New York Governor Kathy Hochul had this warning.
Please stay off the roads. As the saying goes, turn around, don't drown. 2 feet of water could literally sweep your car away. Remember, we're expecting up to 4 inches of rain tomorrow. So combining that with the multiple inches of melted snow, we're talking about a very dangerous combination.
We have team coverage tracking all of this wild weather. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra and meteorologist Bill Cairns standing by with the forecast. Let's start with Marissa. She is in Mobile, Alabama for us. So, Marissa, what is the situation like where you are there? We can see those winds moving around you. How are local officials preparing for this storm?
Hey, Allison. Yeah, good observation. This just started about 15 minutes ago, and I can tell you my crew and I have been getting rocked by this sudden onslaught of wind. We understand that in Mobile, Alabama, according to the National Weather Service, we could be seeing wind gusts of upwards of 70 miles per hour tonight. And so right now what we're seeing, of course, is not just wind and rain, but a lot of lightning around here. And one thing that we are also aware of, keeping a very close eye on, is tornadic activity. And for reasons that Bill Cairns will be happy to explain, all the scientific reasons why these conditions are prime for tornadic activity. This is something that this whole area, not just here in Mobile, Alabama, but this region, the surrounding states are really on high alert for. We already have seen a couple or heard a couple of reports of tornadoes in places like Texas. And so there have been a lot of precautions already in places like New Orleans. We know that the government sent everyone home, the employees home. We've seen Louisiana State University closing early. We've seen similar situations, not just here in Alabama, but in the Panhandle in Florida, and coffee shops around here. So really, Ellison, when it comes to preparing for something like a tornado, it's different than a hurricane or a snowstorm where you go and get supplies and board up your windows. Really, the biggest preps that we're seeing have been people getting sent home so that they can hunker down and ride this out. But of course, now it's nightfall, and that's the biggest threat for people around here, is everyone's just hoping that nothing happens overnight while they're asleep.
Yeah, Marissa, what other parts of the country are you and your team keeping an eye on? Where do we expect this storm to really hit the hardest?
Right. So aside from the threat of tornadoes, especially those nighttime tornadoes, which are the scariest, that is something that we've covered extensively, something that I covered just a month ago in Tennessee. We have also seen, of course, snowfall. People are still in the process of digging themselves out. In fact, there's a lot of people who still don't have power, who might be stuck in very cold conditions inside cold homes without the ability to even have the heat on, let alone drive around their area. So they might be getting more snow, and that is something that everyone's keeping a close eye on. In fact, I just was looking at the power outage app, Allison, and right now it's showing Texas is leading the power outages in the country with 50,000 at the moment. But we're keeping a close eye on conditions around the country and here as it's really starting to pick up, Allison.
All right, NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra in Mobile, Alabama, as the storm moves in there. Thank you. Stay safe. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking this storm for us. Bill, what are you seeing right now?
Allison, we're going to wait to see how the tornado threat develops. We already have life-threatening weather on the blizzard side of this in northern Texas, the western panhandle of Oklahoma, and western Kansas. All the roads are closed. I mean, we have 2 civil emergency messages from 2 counties telling everyone, shelter where you are. We can't even get to you to rescue you because there's 2 to 3 foot snow drifts and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So this is already a blizzard, and now we're waiting to see just what it will deliver. About 100,000 people already without power from this storm. Wouldn't surprise me if this goes over 1 million tomorrow at this time. time because of all the high wind gusts and the severe weather with it. So tornado watches up until about 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. These will be extended as we go throughout the night and reissued. But it's really along I-10. That's the corridor. It's not going to shift too far to the north. We also have a lot of heavy rain, too, so we could have some flash flooding north of that. But this tornado threat is going to be southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and then into areas of the panhandle of Florida and extreme southern Georgia as we go throughout the early morning hours. Then tomorrow afternoon, we take that threat up through the Carolinas. So it's going to be a two-day event here. And then on top of that, there's just multifacets to this storm. It's just such a powerful storm that it has severe weather with it, has flooding concerns, 79 million people under flood watches. This is tonight with the flash flood. You've already had some around the New Orleans area. And then overnight tonight in Atlanta, and then during the day tomorrow, right along the I-95 corridor, area of greatest concern from about Philadelphia to southern New England. Heavy rain and the snowmelt from the weekend is going to lead to a lot of river flooding. And on top of that, we're going to have such strong winds at the coast that during the morning high tide Wednesday morning, we're going to have coastal flooding and beach erosion problems, too. This is like a mini hurricane. So this is the rainfall totals. Locally 4 inches plus that snowmelt, and then that heavy rain threat tonight, especially that higher train of South Carolina in the mountains of North Carolina, and then the wind gusts. As I mentioned, this is why we have a chance for seeing hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people losing power. Everywhere pretty much east of the Rockies is going to have wind gusts 40 to 60 miles per hour. Coastal areas could have some wind gusts to 70. And the power outage forecast, western New York, widespread. Much of New York State is going to be scattered, everywhere scattered along the coast. So we're talking high population areas with scattered power outages that will probably last in some cases or until the upcoming weekend. And as far as the winter weather alerts go, 33 million. And Allison, it would be bad enough if this was the only storm we were watching. Right behind this is going to be a nearly identical storm that is hitting the Pacific Northwest now and through tonight.
All right, NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns, thank you. Tonight, a driver is in custody after crashing a car into a White House gate. According to a spokesman for the Secret Service, the incident happened at the exterior gate of the complex shortly before 6 p.m. local time. The Washington, D.C. Police Department has already cleared the vehicle, and traffic closures are now being lifted. The Secret Service is investigating the cause and manner of the collision. More Epstein files were released today. This morning, the court unsealed even more documents stemming from the civil case against Jeffrey Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Today's batch comprised of 17 items totaling 327 pages and includes a bombshell email from one of Epstein's alleged victims. In 2016, Sarah Ransom wrote that she possessed sex tapes of 6 high-profile figures, including former Presidents Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, as well as Britain's Prince Andrews and Virgin Group founder Richard Branson. Ransom retracted her statement 3 years later. Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Cinadella to dive deeper into all of this. So, Angela, walk us through this, because people have really been digging through these documents day by day. In this latest batch, what would you say we have learned, and what sort of was the biggest revelation here?
Well, I do want to underscore that we are still seeing more first-person testimony of the horrific allegations of assault by both Maxwell and Epstein. And you really see why that is where these criminal prosecutions came from, and that put Maxwell behind bars for 20 years. Now, in terms of this allegation in this email, we know they were from Sarah Ransom, who is a well-known victim. She's come forth before with her story, but here she's alleging that there are sex tapes. And in the first part of this email, she is alleging that this sex tape, she is alleging very specifically that this sex tape includes Bill Clinton and Richard Branson and also Prince Andrew, and that she has this sex tape that they were filmed. Now, in the second email, she really just doubles down on this. And not only does she say that these sex tapes exist, but she also says she's willing to swear under oath and testify in court over these. But as you said, Allison, it is very important to note that she later retracted these statements and in fact claimed herself that she made these up. So I'm not quite sure how much veracity we can attach to this email, Ellison.
So have any of the individuals named in this latest release of documents responded to being mentioned, or any of the allegations included in the documents?
Yes, and they have fiercely denied them. We have a statement from Richard Branson, who says here in a New Yorker report published in 2019, Ransom admitted that she had invented the tapes. We can confirm that Sarah Ransom's claims are baseless and unfounded. And so we also hear a similar statement from Trump, where he says these baseless accusations have been fully retracted because they are simply false and they have no merit. And so I also think it's important to underscore here that it wasn't even a victim necessarily speaking of her first-person experience, as we have seen from other documents, but it is a victim explaining what she saw her friend experience or heard from her friend. So this type of testimony would not even necessarily be admissible in a court of law, but they are salacious and real accusations nonetheless.
All right, NBC's Angela Sanadella, thank you. The man who lunged at a judge last week in Las Vegas was back in court today, picking up where he and that same judge left off in his sentencing over a previous felony assault case. You remember probably this video. It was all over the internet. This is a 30-year-old D'Obra Redden flying over the judge's bench, attacking the judge, Judge Mary Kay Holtus, as he was pleading for leniency. He now faces 13 new charges related to this attack. But today, Redden appeared in court with a lot more security, wearing a mask, gloves, and handcuffs. He was sentenced to up to 4 years in prison, a sentence that judge, the same judge, says was not influenced by what happened last week.
I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions.
NBC News correspondent David Noriega joins me now with more. So, David, today's sentence is separate from the charges he's facing related to attacking this judge, right? When will he be sentenced for that?
Yeah, Allison. So Redden now actually faces numerous charges, including an attempted murder charge for this incident, as well as numerous attempted battery charges against protected persons, as the law says. That refers to officers of the court, including the judge, a clerk, and other people who were involved in this attack. This, as you said, is separate from the hearing for which he was being sentenced last week and the hearing today. The hearing today just completed the sentencing that was taking place last week and was interrupted by this attack on the judge. As for these new charges, Redden is due back in court tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning to face those new, very serious charges. The case has to proceed from there. As for when he's going to be sentenced, it really depends. He could plead out. The legal process has to run its course before we know the answer to that question. Allison?
You know, David, looking at this video, it is a little surprising to see so much security, that face mask on the defendant here, the gloves today, not just extra police, but all of this extra apparatus, if you will. Talk to us about what is normal in these types of situations, understanding that this is in itself an abnormal situation to begin with. And are you surprised, or have experts you've spoken to or people who've been commenting on this, have they been surprised that the judge in this case stayed on for this sentencing?
Right. So that level of security is definitely unusual, and it's clearly a response to what happened last week, right? It's important to note that last week when this attack happened, Redden was not in custody. He was on probation as part of a plea deal that he had reached in this separate case. That's why he wasn't handcuffed. In this occasion, you know, he appeared. It's common for people who are in custody, who are making a court appearance, to appear in prison uniforms and shackled. The face mask and the mitts that he was wearing are indeed unusual. The court has indicated that it's taking steps to sort of beef up its security. It's not necessarily unusual that the same judge heard the hearing today because, again, she was completing the sentencing that was interrupted last week, and she was very clear in stating that she is not going to be hearing the case involving the charges related to the attack against her because, of course, she is a victim in that case. This applies even to the lawyer that he had last Wednesday when this attack took place. Even that lawyer won't be representing him because he is a witness in the case. You know, these images are definitely arresting, and this is an unusual level of security that is particular to this incident. I just want to say one last thing. This defendant's foster mother and sister have gone on record, this is according to the Associated Press, saying that he has been diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Back to you, Allison.
Important context there. David Noriega, thank you. Don't go anywhere because we are just getting started. Up next, an explosion rocks Fort Worth, Texas. Debris thrown all over several blocks. What we know about the cause and the people caught in the blast. Plus, survival story. A woman rescued after being trapped for 4 days in the San Gabriel Mountains. How crews tracked her down. And Austin under fire. What we're learning about why the White House didn't know for days that the Secretary of Defense was hospitalized. The mounting questions about whether or not he broke any laws. That's all coming up, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. 21 people have been injured, one critically, after a suspected natural gas explosion at a hotel in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. Firefighters are searching the building for trapped survivors, and police are urging people to avoid the downtown area. Luckily, as of now, no one was killed. Earlier, House Republicans released a report recommending that Hunter Biden be held in contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena. The subpoena was for a deposition relating to the impeachment inquiry into his father, President Joe Biden. If the resolutions pass, the committee's in a hearing this Wednesday, then the full House could vote on it, which could then be sent to the Justice Department to decide if the president's son should in fact be charged. Today, the Republican Party of Florida voted to remove Chairman Christian Ziegler, who faces rape allegations. The move comes a little over a month after the Sarasota County Police Department said they were investigating the allegations. Ziegler has denied any wrongdoing and has not yet been formally charged. And last night, the Golden Globes kicked off award season honoring the best in film and television. Oppenheimer and Succession were the big winners of the night with 4 and 5 wins, respectively. And Barbie won the first ever Golden Globe Award for box office achievement. And after 27 years, Tiger Woods and Nike are splitting up. The golf legend announced his longtime partnership with the iconic brand is over, adding that there will certainly be another chapter. Woods did not say which brand he plans to wear to events in the future. Tonight, the Israel-Hamas war is causing some problems for the U.S. overseas. Leaders in the region are warning Secretary of State Antony Blinken that anti-American sentiment is growing because of the U.S.'s support for Israel in this war. The warning comes during Blinken's 4th Middle East trip since the war began, as he tries to prevent a wider war from breaking out in this region. But tensions in the Red Sea and Israel's shared border with Lebanon are causing concern. A Hezbollah commander was killed in southern Lebanon today, according to the Iranian-backed militant group. It comes about a week after a Hamas leader was killed in Beirut. Just a warning, some of what you are about to see may be disturbing. Roughly 23,000 Gazans have been killed in this war. That's according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Dozens, if not hundreds of people have lost multiple family members. But despite that, many frontline workers like doctors and journalists, they're still there, working and trying to grieve in the moments in between. This week, Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief lost his son Hamza, also a reporter in an airstrike. He lost his wife, son, and daughter and grandchild to the violence back in October. But despite that, he has vowed to continue reporting about this war. NBC's Matt Bradley has this story.
It's only one loss among so many. But Israel's killing of Wael Dadu's son echoes across the airways of the Arab world and beyond. As Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief, Wael has long been a witness to Gaza's struggles. Lately, he's become a symbol of its sorrows. He was chivalrous, he was generous, he was tender. But Wael hasn't just endured this one loss. Wael's wife, his grandson, his younger son, and his daughter were all killed in an Israeli airstrike in October. How can someone accept the death of his son after losing other family members, he said. Hamza, an Al Jazeera journalist like his father, was killed in an Israeli airstrike in southern Gaza, along with 2 other reporters. Yet even after his latest tragedy, Wael was back on the air just hours later. We will continue, he says, as long as we're alive. Israel says they don't target journalists, but according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, more than 70 reporters have been killed in Gaza so far. Journalists are facing a massacre, a bloodbath in Gaza, Wael said. This is a horrific number in even the worst war. The sounds of Israel's assault on Gaza have been deafening. But when a journalist dies, the only sound left is silence.
Yeah, we did hear, Ellison, from the IDF last night in response to this incident. They said that Hamza Dahdur, Wael's son, had actually been in a car that was with someone who was operating a drone, and they called this incident very unfortunate. They said they would be investigating, but that because there was a drone operator, it looked like Hamas. It looked like a terrorist, and that's why they targeted that car that killed not only Wael's son Hamza, but also 2 other journalists. Now, we're also seeing just today, we're expecting Antony Blinken, he's the U.S. Secretary of State, to arrive here in Israel. Now, we heard Blinken commenting last night as well about the death of this journalist, and he called this very unfortunate. Now, this is one of the many things that he may be discussing with Israeli officials here, including relief aid for those in the Gaza Strip, trying to release those hostages, including some Americans who are still left in the Gaza Strip. But the big thing on his agenda is going to be trying to tamp down tensions region-wide, trying to prevent this fighting in the Gaza Strip that's been going on for the past 3 months from spilling, overflowing out into the rest of the region. And Ellison, you know, this region has been riven by war for my entire lifetime and yours, but this is the closest really that we've come during that time to seeing the entire region, the entire Middle East engulfed in one single conflict. And that's because all of these nodes of conflict that we're seeing throughout the region, they all go back to one place, to Iran. Iran supports groups throughout the region, including Hamas, Hezbollah over the border, and the Houthis in Yemen. These groups, these Shiite groups in Iraq that we just saw the U.S. striking just this past week. So the U.S. does not have formal diplomatic ties with Iran, or really most of its proxies in the region, and that is going to make Antony Blinken's job even harder as he tries to keep this entire region, as he tries to walk it back from the precipice of a full region-wide conflict. Ellison?
Matt Bradley in Israel, thank you. And tonight, lawmakers are demanding answers from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who failed to disclose a recent hospitalization where he was in the ICU. Apparently, the Pentagon waited 3 days before informing the White House of Austin's condition. A senior defense official says Austin's second in command didn't know either. NBC News Pentagon correspondent Courtney Kuby has more.
Tonight, the White House says President Biden has complete confidence in his Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Even after revelations, Austin was hospitalized in intensive care for several days and was unable to perform his job and hid it from the commander-in-chief. The president not answering questions today. It began Monday, January 1st, when the Pentagon says Austin was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance for complications following a recent elective medical procedure. 2 senior administration officials say he spent at least 4 days in the ICU, but no one told the White House, nor Austin's deputy Kathleen Hicks, until Thursday, January 4th. The Pentagon says Hicks, who was on vacation in Puerto Rico, was given certain operational responsibilities on Tuesday, but was not told why. The Pentagon waited until Friday to tell the public about Austin's absence. Tonight, the Pentagon refusing to describe his medical issue, citing privacy. The defense secretary is a critical member of the president's National Security Council, which can be called upon at a moment's notice during an urgent military crisis like an imminent attack. And Austin's mystery absence happening during a time of rising Mideast tensions, with U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria attacked at least 14 times during his hospitalization, and Houthi rebels continuing to target ships in the Red Sea. Republicans say Austin broke the law and needs to go. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump writing, failed Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin should be fired immediately for improper professional conduct and dereliction of duty.
It raises questions about Joe Biden's competence and whether he's really in charge at the White House. This is a shocking breakdown in the chain of command.
Tonight, Austin is still in the hospital. This weekend, writing, I recognize I could have done a better job ensuring the public was appropriately informed. I take full responsibility for my decisions about disclosure.
Our thanks to Courtney Kuby. Coming up, the blame game in Oregon's largest city, how the state's decision to decriminalize certain hard drugs is under the microscope as a fentanyl crisis spins out of control. But first, you gotta see this. A mysterious sea creature caught off the coast of Australia is sparking a whole debate online. Just what is it nobody seems to know. According to the Miami Herald, the professional angler who posted the photos on Facebook believes this snake-like creature is some type of eel, but he says he's never seen anything like it in 50 years of commercial fishing. It's roughly 9 feet long, has 2 sets of fang-like teeth, and if we can say so, it looks pretty angry. The post racked up over 1,000 comments from people offering guesses as to what it could be. Not a lot of consensus there, but everybody seems to agree it looks like something out of a horror movie and not something you would want to run into while scuba diving. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. Today, the Supreme Court decided not to hear a challenge to California's ban on flavored tobacco products. The justices rejected an appeal from tobacco company R.J. Reynolds, essentially backing a ruling that the ban did not conflict with federal law. In 2020, Governor Gavin Newsom signed it into law banning flavored tobacco products. That was delayed, though, as the ban was put on the ballot in 2022. And nearly 2/3 of voters decided to uphold the law. In Las Vegas, the Culinary Union has set February 2nd as a strike deadline for thousands of hospitality workers. The union says they're still negotiating with 20 resorts there, representing over 7,000 workers. The deadline is just days before Vegas will host its first Super Bowl. Negotiations are scheduled for the coming weeks. Outside of Los Angeles, a woman was rescued on Sunday after she got stranded in the Angeles National Forest. Her pickup truck plunged about 200 feet down Mount Baldy last week. She survived but was stuck there for 5 days, even in bad weather. A hiker spotted her truck and was able to call for help. Rescue crews miraculously reached her and airlifted her to a nearby hospital. President Biden made a campaign stop earlier today in Charleston, South Carolina. The state, and particularly its black voters, helped catapult him to win the White House back in 2020. The question now, can he do it again? NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez reports from South Carolina.
At Charleston's Mother Emanuel AME Church, President Biden today honored 9 black worshipers massacred in 2015 by a white supremacist.
This is a poison. Throughout our history, it's ripped this nation apart. This has no place in America.
The president forcefully trying to link racial violence to the nation's current divisions.
That's all right.
But his speech briefly interrupted by protesters calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Another sign of deep divisions among some Democrats. The president's visit comes as his support among black voters is slipping. In 2020, he carried 92% of that group, but a recent NBC News poll shows just 61% would now choose him over a Republican.
Do you think that the Biden administration is taking the black vote for granted?
Yes, his staff is.
Fletcher Smith worked with the Biden campaign in 2020. Now he says he's very concerned about black voters staying home this November.
That administration looks like they don't want the black vote. I mean, you got to speak to the black people.
Maurice Washington is a conservative who thinks the president focusing on threats to democracy won't work.
It has nothing to do with bringing the country together.
We spoke with a group of voters who want the president to do more on student debt relief and police reform.
I just feel like it's been a lot of broken promises.
I think the main issue for me right now is feeling like I am a priority for the people that are in charge.
It's clear, based on what the people are asking for, that he's not here to serve us.
It is arguably the harshest day in professional football, and there's a name to match it. It's called Black Monday. It's the day many coaches find out if they will be looking for new work ahead of next season. 5 NFL teams are now searching for new head coaches. This year's purge is a little different than what fans are used to seeing. 3 of the changes, Carolina, Las Vegas, and San Diego, happened during the season. So the openings in Washington and Atlanta, those are the only fresh ones. But the season of change does not end today. We are waiting to find out if New England's Bill Belichick will, the winner of more than 300 games and 6 Super Bowls, will be moving on. NBC News, NBC Sports host Corey Robinson joins us now to discuss all of these headlines. So, Corey, 5 openings. I initially saw this morning because I'm from Atlanta. Noticed the coach was out. Didn't know this is a whole day. Talk to us about the 5 changes we've seen and what are the notable replacements?
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So look, the main thing, let's talk about Bill Belichick. That's the big headline, right? Will he stay? Will he go? I don't know. I mean, it could be, it's one of those scenarios where you don't fire a guy like Bill Belichick. It's just that it is what it is. He's been the head coach and the GM. That's very important. Both of them at the same time since 2000. That's a long time to hold a job and do it at a high level. But I think he's earned, any type of protection from being fired. Now, it's different. He just signed, reportedly, his contract is one of the closely guarded secrets of the NFL. So apparently he reportedly signed an extension this offseason going into this year that just ended, multi-year, and it's lucrative. He is the highest paid coach in the NFL. So I don't think they're going to fire him. I do think, however, there could be some, back channeling and say, hey, perhaps it's time for you to walk away or, shift into a different role. But there's certainly, he's not going to be fired. So that's kind of my take on that one. That's the big one.
So in terms of these 5 that are now kind of open, I guess, what are the most appealing spots to a prospective new coach?
Yeah, I would like to answer this question in the reverse, if you don't mind, Ellison. Stay far away from Carolina. Carolina's a dumpster fire. I mean, it's one of those places where, yes, it's very attractive. You have Bryce Young, and Bryce is so talented. He got sacked a lot this year because, he went to the worst team, right? So, I mean, they got the #1 draft pick. So the thing is, though, that the owner, David Tepper, have been through 6 coaches since 2018. So I just do the math there. We're in 2024. And you're thinking, man, that's a lot of coaches. There's no stability, and you have a young quarterback. That's don't touch that one. Washington is interesting as well. I know Magic Johnson's a champion, and everything he does is at a very high level, so I very much respect him. But I am concerned about the other team that Josh Harris owns, the 76ers, what they did there with the process and all that jazz. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that. So if I'm a coach, I'm looking at that, I'm like, that same ownership. They have a lot of issues in Washington. They got to figure out a lot of stuff, and they're coming out of a really dark time. I'd probably stay away from that. But the big one is the Chargers. That's the one you want to go to.
Okay. Who do you think are coaches that could maybe get these jobs? I mean, these are incredibly coveted jobs, right? And there's been this back and forth questions about the NFL and their hiring practices when it comes to head coaches. I mean, are there any candidates we know of right now that could actually get these jobs? Anybody that maybe has been passed over in the years past?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the one that comes to my mind right now is Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas. So he took over for Josh McDaniel after he got fired as the interim. The star players, Devontae Adams and Max Crosby, both come out in full support of Pierce. So he's someone that could stay. And then I think Raheem Morris is in the conversation. Dave Canales from the Bucs is a really interesting sleeper pick because he did amazing things with Geno Smith when he was in Seattle, did amazing things with Baker Mayfield. Right now in the Bucs, he's the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. He could be someone who comes in as a Mexican-American head coach.
All right, Corey Robinson, thank you. We appreciate it. Oregon is battling an ongoing fentanyl crisis. According to the state's health department, the number of people who have died from opioid overdoses has skyrocketed since 2019. Some people are blaming a first-in-the-nation law that decriminalized the possession of certain drugs. Others say the law just needs more time. Here's NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro.
A drug disaster on the streets of Portland, Oregon, that some voters blame on a law they actually voted for. Measure 110 passed in 2020 with 58% of the vote, decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of drugs, even methamphetamines and fentanyl. Instead of being arrested, violators may get a $100 citation. But those potentially lethal drugs have a grip on the city that not everyone can survive.
That potent drug fentanyl, man, is killing people. It's killing people. It almost killed me.
Damian Phillips once called these streets his home, but is now in recovery.
It's a lot rougher than anybody knows. I can say that. Like going through the withdrawals and everything. It's painful.
For others, the pain is just too much to overcome.
The police came and they were like, that person's not high, they've died on the sidewalk.
Jesse Burke is a local business owner in the Old Town District who voted to pass Measure 110. But now she says open and blatant drug use has become the norm.
The city commissioner asked me recently, what % of the day do I see people using drugs? And I said, is there a number more than 100?
Given what's happened, would you vote for it again?
Absolutely not. Just because you see the ripple effect of what has happened.
The law was implemented just as the opioid epidemic and COVID-19 swept over Oregon. The number of opioid overdose deaths across the state growing every year since 2019. Preliminary numbers show more than 600 people died in just the first 6 months of 2023. Law enforcement officials say now the state's fentanyl crisis is exploding. Numerous recent drug busts in the Portland area leading to historic seizures by county sheriff's deputies, all leading to calls to repeal or at least reform Measure 110.
I believe the voters, when they voted for it, they didn't realize it was going to take away the penalties for criminal possession.
Republican leadership proposing changes that include forced treatment programs, a ban on public use, and the reinstatement of some criminal penalties. Democratic Governor Tina Kotek announcing a plan to ask state lawmakers to ban public use while declaring a 90-day fentanyl emergency to refocus resources on the problem.
The overdose epidemic that we're experiencing here in Portland is unequivocally a tragedy.
Dr. Andrew Mendenhall specializes in treatment of substance use disorders. He's also president and CEO of Central City Concern, or CCC, a community nonprofit that helps the homeless.
It's important to not overfocus on Measure 110 being the cause of all of the problems. Oregon has had an under-resourced behavioral health system of care for many years. Oregon has an affordable housing crisis that's been unfolding for many years as well.
Anyone home?
CCC's outreach teams, led by Drew Grabham, regularly visit people living on the streets, some struggling with substance use disorder.
We actually have a mobile van, like a doctor van and a dentist. Do you have any wounds or anything like that you'd want to get looked at?
Do you believe Measure 110 just needs more time?
Absolutely. We need more time.
And it would be successful given more time?
Absolutely. We need more services. We need more structures. We need more housing. We need more employment.
Damian Phillips found employment with CCC's Clean Start Homeless to Work program, and he says another chance at life.
What do you think is the best way for people to find help or seek out recovery?
CCC. What I'm doing now is I'm actually able to make a living and to give back to my community.
That was Valerie Castro reporting. Still ahead, solving the emergency at the southern border. Exclusive details on the Biden administration's new effort to get Mexico to step up. Why it could come at a major cost. Our Julia Ansley joins us to dive deeper into her reporting. That's right after the break. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Russia hit Ukraine with another round of missile and drone strikes, killing at least 4 civilians and hurting 38 others. A few of them, according to local officials, were children. Some homes even reduced to rubble. Ecuador's most wanted prisoner just disappeared from jail. The man who goes by the alias Fido is the leader of a criminal organization and was sentenced to 34 years back in 2011 for murdering and drug trafficking. The organization he's involved with, they are accused of controlling the country's prisons. Pope Francis is calling for a universal ban of surrogacy motherhood. He says the, quote, despicable practice exploits the mother and child, and that a child should never be, quote, the basis of a commercial contract. The practice of surrogacy is already illegal in Italy, and some other countries ban or restrict commercial or paid surrogacy. The Vatican also opposes in vitro fertilization, also known as IVF, but the Vatican says parents who use a surrogate can still have their child baptized. And farmers in Germany are using tractors to block roads all over the country. It's all part of a week-long protest against subsidy cuts. Several border crossings with France were even blocked, causing some pretty significant traffic jams. The country's vice chancellor even witnessed angry farmers trying to storm the ferry he was on. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas made a stop at the Texas-Mexico border today. He was in Eagle Pass meeting with local leaders and Border Patrol officials still dealing with a record number of migrant crossings. More than 300,000 migrants were processed by Customs and Border Protection just last month. Mayorkas' visit comes as formal impeachment hearings against him are set to begin this week on Capitol Hill. House Republicans have repeatedly criticized Mayorkas, accusing him of not doing enough on immigration policy and securing the U.S.-Mexico border.
We've been asking Secretary Mayorkas since he took office to enforce the law, to do his job, and he's done exactly the opposite. It's not because of incompetence. I believe he has done this intentionally. I think these are intentional policy decisions that he's made, and I think there must be accountability for that.
We're also learning more about negotiation talks between the White House and Mexico on how to address the border crisis together. But it comes with a list of demands from Mexico's side, putting pressure on Biden to find a middle ground here. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ansley joins me now with more. So, Julia, talk to us about the timing of the secretary's visit to the border. Will it have any impact on those impeachment efforts moving forward in the House?
Well, as you know, those impeachment efforts are going to get underway formally on Wednesday when the House Homeland Security Committee begins its first hearing. But the witnesses so far do not include Mayorkas. Even though he was at the border this week, he's also involved in negotiations on the Hill. But just because he's not there doesn't mean it's not taking time. In fact, DHS sources tell me that this impeachment inquiry that, really began years ago when they started to try to get documents from Mayorkas and from DHS over these policies, they say that it takes manpower and it takes time away from their mission. Now, Mayorkas was just at the border today saying that they're going to keep pushing Congress to do more to change immigration law in this country. Here's what he had to say. Okay, so I'm not sure if you could hear Mayorkas there, but he's basically saying that they need more help in order to fix a broken immigration system. Ellison?
Our apologies for that, Julia. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties on our end, but we appreciate you being here and explaining that to us. So the Biden administration in Mexico, they really have been in talks over how to handle the border crisis, right? And that's not anything new. These are kind of, it feels like ongoing all the time, forever and ever. But what do you know right now about the discussions as they stand today in terms of the demands coming from the Mexican side? Are those any way, however you mix them, is it anything that the White House would consider realistic?
Well, they're incredibly ambitious goals. I don't think it's anything that the White House would consider realistic, and I'll get to exactly why in a minute. But I think the sheer ambition of these goals points to the leverage Mexico has right now, because without Mexico interdicting migrants who are U.S. bound, deporting more people, and allowing the U.S. to push back some migrants into Mexico, it really undermines efforts to curb migration numbers at the southern border for the U.S. Now, some of those ambitious goals include asking the U.S. to grant 10 million visas to Hispanics living in the United States, to ease sanctions on Venezuela, to end trade blockades with Cuba, in President Lopez Obrador's words. And he also wants the U.S. to commit to a $20 billion campaign to try to address the root causes of migration in Central America. These are huge asks, and it's not necessarily that the Mexican administration is drawing a red line and saying they won't do anything, but it just merely says this is our wish list while we discuss yours.
Is there a chance, Julia, where the White House is going to look at a lot of that and say there's no way we can or would want to agree to this, but maybe we'll do one of the above? I mean, is this a throw everything and see what you can get situation?
It might be, or they simply might kind of walk back some of this. It might be that for President Lopez Obrador's administration, in order to sell to his constituents and to try to get his party reelected, that he needs to say, look, at least the United States is going to do more to address the root causes of migration, even if it isn't to the extent that he wants.
All right, Julia Ansley, thank you so much for staying up late with us. We appreciate it. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. Are we facing a lunar letdown? How a private effort to reach the moon has gone off course, what it means for the mission, and any future attempts. A former NASA astronaut weighs in right after the break.
Five, 4, 3, we have ignition. And liftoff of the first United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, launching a new era in spaceflight to the moon and beyond.
Technical issues are threatening a historic attempt by a private company to land on the moon. Astrobotic says its robotic lander is suffering engine issues and leaking propellant. Right now, crews are trying to salvage what they can of the mission, which includes scientific instruments and cremated human remains for space burials. The setback is casting a shadow over the ambitious goal of achieving the first U.S. soft lunar landing in over half a century. Joining me now is former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino. Massimino. Thank you so much for being here with us, Mike. So walk us through this. When you hear these terms about these issues, engine issues, it sounds daunting to an outsider, but how critical are these issues and what at this point can be salvaged?
Well, Ellison, it doesn't sound very good as far as getting their chances of actually making it to the moon. If you look at the bright side of things, they did have a successful launch. It was the first launch of this Vulcan rocket, a big heavy lift rocket that can get a payload to the moon. But this is the first attempt of a commercial program that NASA has conducted with several companies. This is the first attempt to get a lander to the moon. So, the chances looking into it that it was going to go off perfectly, maybe not all that great, or they were hoping for the best, of course. I don't think all is lost. If it sounds like that they're leaking propellant, they weren't able to maneuver the spacecraft as easily as they had hoped, but they were able to get the batteries charged, to get the solar rays pointed into the sun. So that's a good thing. That'll keep the spacecraft alive. But if they are leaking propellant like they suspect, what it sounds like is that they will not be able to land on the moon. But as you said, they're looking to see what they can do as like plan B. Maybe there is some data they can take from going close to the moon, going to orbit around the moon, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to land unless they can figure out a way to get around this potential leak.
People are so interested in the idea of commercial space exploration, private space ventures. When you look at something like this, and you talked about sort of the one bright spot is that the launch was successful, but when you look at an issue like this, does it make you think that the goal of private space trips maybe is further away than people realize, or do you think this is just a bump in the journey and we are on the cusp of this maybe being accessible to a lot of people in the decades and years to come?
I really think it's just a bump in the journey right now. I don't think we can jump to too many conclusions. We still don't know exactly what happened. But NASA, I think, did a good job of not just going with one company. Same for launching people into space. They're using multiple companies to do that as commercial crew program, to get people to space, to get cargo to space. Same thing with this commercial program to land things on the moon. It's not just this one company, it's other companies. This is only their first attempt. So this one didn't go off. I mean, they did get some things done. And maybe this spaceship will get to the moon. It probably won't land, it sounds like. But I do think this is just a quicker way to do things. It's less expensive than the way government usually does things. So I think this is just a bump in the road. I think maybe this won't work out perfectly, but they've got another launch coming up with a different company in a few weeks, and we'll see how that one goes.
A lot of things out there, so much to watch. Mike Massimino, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. That does it for us tonight. I'm Ellison Barber. We will see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.